Hey everyone, just a quick reminder. Only about 25% of you watching are subscribed to the channel. If you're enjoying the content, hitting that subscribe button would really help the channel grow. And while you're at it, smash that like button too. It helps a ton, and lets me know you're enjoying the content. Thanks for being here, and let's dive into the story. I was just a dude with back pain and bad luck until I dreamed myself into a freaking nightmare. I don't remember what I ate that night, but it either came from a gas station, a haunted vending machine, or the devil's own fridge. Whatever it was, it rewired my brain. That, or maybe I finally just snapped. Wouldn't be the first Henderson man to go crazy in his recliner. Anyway, my name's Mark. I'm 38, divorced, and the proud owner of a 2011 Ford Ranger with a cracked windshield and a Bluetooth speaker duct taped to the dash because I refused to upgrade. I work second shift at a bottling plant where the only thing colder than the break room fridge is Jerry, the guy who keeps stealing my Hot Pockets. I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment that smells vaguely of sawdust and regret. My hobbies include Xbox, beef jerky, and telling myself I'm gonna get in shape starting next Monday. I've got a cat named Chairman Meow, a beer gut I claim is all core strength, and a back that makes more noise than a haunted house when I stand up too fast. That night started like any other. Me in my recliner, pants optional, controller in one hand, a plate of cold pizza on my chest like some greasy offering to the gods of sloth. I'd been playing Call of Honor, exploding freedom with my buddy Travis online when I got that feeling. Like my brain hit the emergency brake and my whole body just slowed down. "Bro, you still there?" Travis asked in my headset. I wanted to answer. Really. But my eyelids had turned into weighted blankets, and my brain felt like someone poured NyQuil directly into my skull. The last thing I remember seeing was a weird commercial on the TV. Some late-night infomercial for a blender that could liquefy bone. The host stared right at me and whispered, "You've been chosen." And then, the dream began. I didn't wake up in bed. I didn't wake up in my chair. I woke up in the middle of a freaking cornfield. On fire. Not me. The cornfield. And somehow I was standing there like it was totally normal, wearing what I can only describe as a Mad Max meets WWE outfit. Leather straps, glowing shoulder pads, and some kind of high-tech wrist device that kept beeping like I was late for a boss fight. "Mark Henderson!" A voice boomed from the sky like it was coming from a megaphone inside a thundercloud. I looked up, shielding my eyes. Yo? You have been summoned to the realm of reckoning. Is this about that blender? 'Cause I don't even cook." A glowing portal opened behind me with a sound like a million frogs croaking in reverse. From it stepped a 6-foot-tall goat wearing a business suit. His eyes were glowing red, and he carried a clipboard. "Hello, champion," it said in perfect English. "We've been expecting you." At that point, I did what any reasonable man in a dream cornfield would do. I screamed, "What the fuck?" and backpedaled straight into a flaming scarecrow, which immediately turned into a swarm of bees and flew away, chanting, "All hail the Snack King." That's when I knew two things. I was dreaming. I had to ride this chaos out to the end. So there I was, cornfield ablaze, scarecrow bees chanting about snacks, and a demonic goat in a pinstripe suit handing me a clipboard. "Please initial here and sign at the bottom," the goat said in a disturbingly calm voice. "This legally binds you to the trials of the reckoning." "Trials?" I asked, taking the clipboard. "Look, I haven't even passed my cholesterol check this year. I don't think I'm qualified for..." A fireball exploded next to us, launching a flaming ear of corn into the sky like a Roman candle. "Yeah, okay, I'll sign." I scribbled something that looked like a toddler's signature mid-earthquake. The goat smiled with its unsettling human teeth. "Excellent. Trial 1. Survive the food court." What? Suddenly, the cornfield melted around me like wax, and I found myself standing in the middle of a massive shopping mall. The lighting flickered. The air smelled like Wetzel's pretzels and existential dread. I turned and shouted, "What kind of trial is this?" A horde of animatronic mascots from long-defunct fast food chains came storming toward me. a jacked burger clown with sharpened teeth, a humanoid taco with eyes that bled hot sauce, a 6-foot chicken nugget with brass knuckles. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. They were chanting something about the sauce must flow as they closed in. But just as they were about to jump me, my arm lifted on its own, and I fired a laser from my wrist device that turned the nugget into a crispy cloud of crumbs. What? I looked down at the wrist thing. It was glowing purple and said, SAS level 8, weapon unlocked, flavor blaster. Flavor blaster? I muttered. The burger clown lunged at me, screeching in slow motion. Instinct took over. I rolled under a hot dog cart, grabbed a broken umbrella, and flipped it like a spear straight through his ketchup-pumping chest. He deflated like a sad parade balloon. Behind me, the goat clapped politely. Very good, Mark. You've passed the first trial. Your SAS levels are impressive. Thanks, I wheezed, chest heaving. Do I get a prize or something? Trial 2 begins now. The goat snapped his hooves. The mall floor cracked beneath me like glass and I fell into darkness. I landed face first in a kiddie pool filled with expired Jell-O. I stood up, covered in goop, and looked around. This place looked like a Chuck E. Cheese after the apocalypse. Torn birthday banners hung from the ceiling. Arcade machines sparked and flickered. There were footprints in the dust, but only going in. Welcome to the lair of the birthday warden, the goat said beside me. He was wearing a party hat now. What fresh hell is this? I asked. Suddenly the walls rumbled, and from the back of the room came the most horrifying thing I have ever seen. A 10-foot-tall animatronic rat wearing a birthday sash, wielding a microphone like a mace. He spoke with the voice of a chain-smoking DJ. Welcome, birthday boy. It's time to dance. The light strobed. Music blasted from nowhere. You all ready for this? Dun 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 dun. And to my horror, my legs started moving, like on their own. I couldn't stop dancing. I was flossing, moonwalking, twerking like a caffeinated raccoon. The rat cackled and started dancing too, faster and faster. I don't even know this one, I screamed as my spine did the worm. The goat shouted, To win, you must outdance him. I'm 38 with a bad knee. Just when I thought my hip was going to launch out of its socket like a clay pigeon, something inside me snapped. A voice in my head whispered, You were born for this. Suddenly, I busted out the most unholy fusion of 90s boy band moves and bar mitzvah footwork the world had ever seen. The rat gasped. His birthday hat exploded. He screamed, No! And burst into confetti. I dropped to my knees, arms in the air, breathing like I just sprinted up a mountain while chain-smoking beef jerky. The goat handed me a towel. Well done. You're not the worst chosen one we've had. I wiped my face and mumbled, What the hell is going on? None of this makes sense. The goat sighed. It's not supposed to. This is a dream. My eyes widened. Wait, what? I knew it. Ah, he said. But just because it's a dream doesn't mean it isn't real. I opened my mouth to argue, but that's when I saw the next portal open up, and a voice echoed through it. Trial 3, the subway tunnels of regret. I sighed and followed the goat in. This better not involve rats again. The portal dropped me into the middle of a subway platform, but it wasn't your average city tunnel. No. This place looked like if a therapy session and a haunted carnival had a baby and raised it in an abandoned Hot Topic. The walls pulsed with glowing graffiti. Words like shouldn't have texted her back and why did you eat gas station sushi flashed in red neon. I swear I saw my high school yearbook photo on a poster that said, most likely to die in a dream. Welcome, the goat said, now wearing a conductor's cap, to the subway tunnels of regret. I regret not punching you in the snout sooner, I muttered. He smiled. That's the spirit. Now then, hop aboard. A train screeched into the station, and I immediately noticed it had teeth. Actual sharpened metal teeth along the front like it had eaten another train for breakfast. Does this thing run on diesel or tears? I asked. Both, the goat said, casually flipping a switch and boarding the train. Oh, And don't touch the third rail of denial. As I stepped on, the doors slammed shut and the lights flickered. The inside was worse. Every seat was taken by me. Like 30 different versions of myself, each looking more pathetic than the last. One was crying while holding a broken Xbox controller. One was sweating in a job interview wearing Crocs. One had a t-shirt that said, "She was just my coworker, bro." The last one looked up at me and said, "You shouldn't have eaten all those frozen burritos." What the? The train jolted forward. Suddenly the loudspeaker crackled. "Next stop, the Rat's Revenge." The lights went red. All the other marks vanished. Then came the scratching. Thousands of tiny feet, skittering just out of sight. The goat appeared beside me holding a plunger like a weapon. "You're gonna want to hold still." "What's happening now?" The ceiling burst open, and a wave of rats came pouring in like a fur-covered tsunami. But these weren't normal rats. These were dream rats, each with glowing eyes, tiny tactical vests, and little baseball bats made from Q-tips. The biggest one landed in front of me, stood up on two legs, and shouted in a deep Brooklyn accent, "You left us in the trash, Mark!" I screamed and drop-kicked him into a row of seats. Battle mode activated. I grabbed a metal pole, spun it like Donatello from Ninja Turtles, and went full rat smasher. The goat whistled in appreciation. "Nice form!" One rat latched onto my face, screaming, "Remember the one you flushed?" I body slammed myself into the wall and flattened him like a sticker. The train started to spark and swerve. "Rats are chewing the cables," the goat yelled. "We're gonna crash unless you stop them." I dove under the seats and found the rat general. He had a scar over one eye and was chomping on the emergency brake wire. I grabbed him, locked eyes, and whispered, "Not today, Whiskers." Crack! I punched him so hard his little beret flew off. The train screeched to a halt. Silence. No more scratching, no more squeaking. Just the smell of burned fur and broken dreams. The goat dusted off his hooves. "You've completed trial 3. Honestly, that one goes south for most people. One guy last week joined the rats and became their king." Did he have dental? Surprisingly, yes. I wiped sweat from my brow and looked around. The train had stopped at a station labeled Trial 4, the DMV of Destiny. "Oh no," I groaned. "That sounds worse than the rats." The goat nodded solemnly. "It is. Do I get a break or—" Before I could finish, the station lights dimmed, and the door creaked open. I could hear the distant sound of a printer jamming and someone weeping softly behind a counter. Whatever was waiting in there, it wasn't human. And for some reason I still followed the goat in. The air inside the DMV of Destiny hit me like a wet sock full of regret. It smelled like expired Lunchables and permanent marker fumes. The walls were painted in that gross greenish tan color that screams, "We don't want you here." Flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, like they were powered by misery and broken dreams. A massive demon receptionist sat behind bulletproof glass, chewing gum and scrolling through what looked like an ancient box phone. She had 6 arms and wore a name tag that read, Cheryl. "Take a number," she said, not looking up. The goat handed me a slip, 777-B. I looked around. The monitor on the wall said, "Now serving, number 5. I turned to him. "You've got to be kidding." "It moves fast," he lied, sipping from a coffee mug that said, "World's Most Unhelpful Guide." I sat down on a cracked plastic chair next to a guy whose head was literally a spinning clock. He was muttering to himself, "Time's a circle. Time's a circle." The hours, or minutes, or decades, blurred together. A man in a clown suit was arguing with the vending machine. A centaur got into a fistfight with a talking fern over a clipboard. I watched a mime get called to the counter and mime his way through the entire eye exam. They gave him a license. 777-B, Cheryl finally called. I jumped up like I just won the lottery and approached the window. "Fill these out," she said, slamming down a stack of forms thicker than a phone book and soaked in what I hoped was just coffee. I flipped through them. Form 13, A, Confirmation of Spiritual Readiness. Form 22, F, Summon disclosure and goat affiliation. Form 66, HELLNO. Application for passage through the next door. Do you have a pen? Cheryl blinked her 6 eyes and slowly slid me a single chewed-up golf pencil the size of a cigarette. The goat whispered, "Better not mess up. If you check the wrong box, they send you to the waiting room of infinite elevator music." I cracked my knuckles. All right, I got this. I filled out the forms like a man possessed, circling, scribbling, accidentally drawing a wiener on the soul-binding waiver and having to start over. Finally, after what felt like writing my entire life story in blood and ink, I handed them over. Cheryl flipped through them, raised an eyebrow at the last page, and said, "You drew a wiener on this one too." "Therapeutic reflex," I muttered. She stamped it anyway. "K.I. chunk. Proceed through door number 3, she said. "And good luck. Most don't come back the same." I looked at the goat. "You coming?" He adjusted his tie. "Door number 3's your journey. I'll meet you at the end." "Great," I said. Classic mysterious dream guide move. I opened the door. The hallway behind it was nothing but fog and silence. I walked forward slowly, my steps echoing like I was inside a cathedral. Somewhere far off, I heard whispering. Not creepy whispering, though. It sounded like commentary. "Is this the guy?" "Yeah, he's lasted longer than the waffle truck driver." "Oh, snap. I think he's about to hit the final trial." I reached the end of the hall and found a room with 1 chair and a mirror. A note sat on the chair. "To wake up, you must remember who you were before this dream began." I stared into the mirror. My reflection didn't move. It looked older, tired, like a version of me that had given up. But then, something changed. My reflection smirked. It stood up. I didn't. What the hell? The reflection cracked its knuckles. "You think you're the real Mark? You've been in this dream too long, buddy." The door slammed shut behind me. "You've got to fight yourself to wake up," it said, flexing like a WWE villain. "Loser stays in dreamland forever." I backed up. Oh, hell no. But I knew it was true. The final trial was me. The room was silent. Me circled each other like 2 wrestlers about to throw down at a Walmart on Black Friday. Dream Mark, let's call him Dark Mark, was shirtless, glistening, and jacked like he'd been doing push-ups inside my subconscious this whole time. "I'm the version of you that stopped making excuses," he growled. "I floss, bro." "You mean your teeth or that dumb dance?" He drop-kicked me across the room. I slammed into the mirror and scrambled to my feet, spitting out blood and a piece of a pretzel I swear I didn't eat. "Why do you even want to keep me here?" I asked, ducking a roundhouse kick. Dark Mark grinned. "Because you were starting to believe this world was better than real life. No bills, no pain, just laser wrists, demon goats, and spicy nugget death matches." "I mean, that's not wrong," I admitted, swinging a chair at him. He caught it, snapped it in half, and jabbed me in the ribs with a leg. "But it's not real!" I yelled. He stopped. "And what if it is?" That gave me just enough time to charge forward and headbutt him so hard both our noses exploded in a cartoonish spray of dream logic blood. We tumbled to the floor. I rolled on top and locked him in a headlock. "This is my dream. I decide how it ends." He choked out, "Not if I turn it into a nightmare." Suddenly the room shifted. The mirror cracked. The walls started to breathe like lungs, and the floor opened up into total void. I barely held onto the edge while Dark Mark dangled by my boot. "If you let me fall," he said, "you wake up. But everything you've become here, it dies with me." I looked down at him, my perfect, badass, dream self, and I let go. Everything exploded into light, like a million flat screens all turned on at once. Then, darkness, silence, and then, I gasped awake in my recliner, covered in sweat, empty Dorito bags, and shame. The TV was playing static. Chairman Meow sat on my chest, judging me with his usual expression of, "You useless sack of meat." I looked around. Everything was normal. The controller was in my lap. The pizza was still on the floor. The Taco Bell receipt was crumpled under the couch. I grabbed it and unrolled it lazily. My heart stopped. At the bottom, printed in bold, "See you soon, champion." Oh no. Then I noticed the mirror across the room. My reflection was still sitting in the chair, but I wasn't.